You may have already heard Tony Robbins talk about the importance of elevated emotional states to achieve great results, to reach what is desired. But perhaps what you have not yet explored deeply is how this relationship between emotion and result is more complex and powerful than it seems at first glance. When he talks about emotions and their connection to success, he is referring to something deep that transcends simple motivation or positive thinking. In fact, this leads us on a much more intense journey where neuroscience and spirituality intertwine to explain how our reality can be shaped from our inner energy. To fully understand this dynamic, we need to look more deeply at the mechanisms that drive us. Tony Robbins teaches us the importance of elevating our emotional state, but the real key lies in understanding why and how these emotions influence our brain and body, and how they can shape the reality around us. Let's talk about this, about the role of spiritual neuroscience, which reveals to us the connection between emotion, mind, and body, and how this understanding can unlock an extraordinary inner power. Tony Robbins is clear in stating that emotion is the key to activating the power within us. When we manage to access and elevate our emotions, we create the ideal conditions for extraordinary results. However, the reality is that behind this simple idea, there is a complex network of biochemical and neurological reactions that shape our experience. When we are in an elevated emotional state, our brain begins to reconfigure its neural connections, creating new pathways and opening doors to new possibilities. This is where the contribution of spiritual neuroscience comes in. Joe Dispenza, one of the great scholars in this field, explains how emotions have the power to alter the neural connections in our brain. This process is not simply a case of thinking positive, but a true reprogramming of our neurological system. The brain, when in an elevated emotional state such as gratitude, joy, or love, begins to create new realities. It starts to reconfigure itself to operate according to the new energetic frequency we are emitting. But what is even more fascinating is the role of the body in this process. The brain does not act in isolation. When we manage to generate a deep and genuine emotion, the body also responds. The heart, which is the greatest generator of electromagnetic energy in the body, starts to vibrate at a frequency that propagates throughout our being. This energy, when in resonance with our deepest intentions and desires, begins to interact with the electromagnetic field surrounding us, creating a direct connection with the universe. The reality we experience is not only a product of our thoughts, but also of our energy. Elevated emotions generate a frequency that influences how we relate to the world around us. When our energy is aligned with that of the universe, we create the ideal conditions for the desired manifestations to become real. When you place yourself in an elevated emotional state, you are not just changing your mood or your momentary feelings. You are changing the way your brain functions, how your body reacts, and how you interact with the energetic world around you. This alignment between mind, body, and spirit creates a vibrational resonance that is in tune with the universe, and it is here that significant changes begin to occur. The real magic is not just in the act of thinking or doing, but in how you feel and how that feeling reverberates through the world around you. Furthermore, by elevating our emotions, by working with the intensity of our feelings, and by consciously channeling this energy, we begin to change the structure of our brain. The neural patterns that were limiting start to dissolve, giving way to new thought patterns that allow us to create realities more aligned with our desires. The process is simple, yet incredibly powerful. A change in an emotional state creates a shift in how we see the world, how we relate to it, and ultimately, how the world relates to us. It is at this point that the secret is revealed. When emotion is elevated, the mind aligns and the body synchronizes, the reality around us begins to reflect what we want to manifest. What seems like a spiritual manifestation process is, in fact, a highly neuroscientific and biochemical process. By elevating your emotion, you are activating specific neural circuits that shape your reality, not just on the mental plane, but also in the energetic and physical field. True transformation occurs when we manage to align our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. When this harmony is created, everything inside us begins to manifest more clearly and intensely. It is not about an external effort or a struggle against what happens around us, but an internal process of reconfiguration that generates external results. You begin to realize that your reality is not just a series of unpredictable events, but something that you can indeed shape from the energy and emotion you choose to emit. This connection between neuroscience and spirituality reveals a simple but profound truth. Real change comes from within. When you allow yourself to enter an elevated emotional state and create resonance with the universe, you are activating the transformative power that already exists inside you. It is not about seeking change only outside of you, but understanding and applying the transformative force that is already within you, waiting to be awakened. From this understanding, transformation begins to happen not as something distant, but as something you are already creating the moment you connect with your true essence, with your emotions, and with the vibrational frequency of the universe.